Hello. I've joined the Freemasons for my own safety, and I want to show you what is scaring the shit out of me. This is my wife's favourite movie, my wife's favourite actor, and that's the wife that tried to have me killed. I want you to see that I've joined the Masons, so that I can be in the brotherhood that runs all the wars, all sides, and this is the dismemberment of New Zealand that I love dearly. Okay, and all of them are governed by criminals out of these car parks in America. Let me show you this scene. It's really scary. This is the actor that makes all the movies about America's freedom, and all of them make the biggest crime in American history, electoral fraud. And that puts their lives in danger. And this could be mistaken for Madonna's car park scene. This is Deep Throat and the involvement of Councillor Mitchell from the Borders Council. My confidant, who was not a Mason himself, but his father was a Mason. He's the one who gets to meet HRH the Queen, and she's got all the assassination contracts in her handbag.
In a conspiracy like this, you build from the outer edges and you go step by step. If you shoot too high and miss, everybody feels more secure. You put the investigation back in us. So we go there. And if we're wrong, we resign. Were we wrong? Find that out. Listen, I'm tired of your chicken shit games. All right. I need to know what you know.
Electoral fraud. The biggest sin in America's history.
It was a home operation. The whole business was run by all the money and everything. That's the he's getting at. He was insulated. You'll have to find out how. Mitchell started doing covert stuff before anything else. The list is longer than you can imagine. It involved the entire U.S. intelligence community. FBI. CIA. It's incredible. Robert had little to do with Watergate, was mainly to protect covert operations. It's everywhere. Get out your notebook. There's more. Your lives are in danger. Hi, I finally just phoned on the phone.
Windsor music. The biggest crime is electoral fraud. And I've just been listening to Fairy Tale of New York by the Pogues. And all of the finishing scenes of LA Confidential, where all the law enforcers get blown to bits by their rivals in law enforcement. And all of the deals that are struck all across the world are actually mafia operations. Their lives are in danger. They realise that now. Let's get on with the disclosures that I was making. Of the Council for Foreign Relations, the Round Table, the Rhodes Trust, and all of the genocidal institutions, even the papacy. In World War I, led by a Pope Benedict, which is why Pope Benedict from the Alps had to be brought in and they had to cover up that his name was Radzinger, yeah, and make him a rat zinger. Yeah, and if we go a little bit further back in my transcript, oh sorry, we can see that I've got videos on Rebekah Brooks. Oh no, sorry. Issue now. Yeah, this is. No, I've made a mess of that. Let's just get on with it. There's Rebekah Brooks at the Leveson inquiry. Do you get that? That's Rebekah Brooks, the right-wing commander-in-chief for the media, yeah, with all those interlocks with General Sir Mike Jackson, involved in the Balkans and the killings in Northern Ireland. She's on the she's on the Malaria No More boards, yeah, she's got dozens of non-executive directorships, and she's subject to that ageing thing that makes her look like Mrs. Doyle in some of the photos. Okay, and she is the commander-in-chief. Her name is Brooks, and that is, there's no fucking room at the Innsbruck joke, yeah, for the Pope from the Innsbruck region, and all of the jokes about Pinocchio, the boy with no strings, and the Warner brothers, and the Parish family in the Jumanji fucking joke. Okay, I'm here to play that game of Jumanji. Every 26 years they bring the devil into the crime scene in the past to lead all of the world like her in the satanic way. I'm more interested in their crimes against the people, and there are the images of Leon Panetta and all of the people where we left off on the last story. Okay, what can I play you? let me play you the closing sequences to LA Confidential. That's the one where the gladiator actor is in the movie about law enforcement in Britain, and there are so many insider traders that are prepared to kill that they actually end up shooting everybody in the cast with shotguns, and that is her mafias. Okay, yeah, that is Rupert Murdoch's news leader. Yeah, that's Rupert Murdoch that takes us into war, that dismembers the global union movement. Yeah, every union leader is a fascist now, and that's the way that the world is run. The fascist union leader that is Dave Prentice is on the court of the Bank of England, and our Canadian Gruppenführer at the Bank of England is on a massive salary, and I've not found his director numbers in his personal frauds yet. Yeah, it's absolutely massive, and the biggest thing that America reports in the whole of its history is Nixon's record as an electoral fraudster. He committed the genocide in Vietnam, he passed it on to LBJ once they'd gotten rid of JFK, and the Kennedys are in the mafia elite families too. Okay, let's get on with it. What can I play you? Yeah, and that's the Episcopalian Church's celebrations. They all need to dress up. The whole of religion is a fraud. Yeah, and all of it leads to the killing of all of those people. And that is the Pogue song, not about the New York Christmas dream, yeah, and the New York Police Department and all of the women being disloyal and being sluts. Yeah, and all of it is run by the Freemasons from the backroom, Field McConnell, John Patterson, and all of those people that share the jokes about getting me interviewed fortnightly so that the world can be freed. Yeah, that's all the airmen, yeah, in all the jokes, yeah, like the airman who's just come in down the road, part of the Reynolds mafias, yeah, from the air bases where my children were born, near Rothschild's Aylesbury. I talk too much. Okay, let's get on to this other computer and let's see what we can find there. I don't want to play the hung up music again because that gets blocked and copyrighted every time. So let's play The No Room at the Rebekah Brooks Inn in Innsbruck for Jesus and the Monty Python's team, who are the only innocent citizens on the globe. They let the truth out all of the time. Oh no, let's find the Pillsbury Doughboy joke about the member of the Skull and Bones warmongering university professor sect that is the Pillsbury man that sends the world into World War I, and in the 1960s it becomes the Pillsbury Doughboys. Okay, just enough time for that. That's Saddam and Hillary #1 hung up. I've yet to process that, and my life is now in danger from the mafias that run the world. Hillary Clinton, I will not let go of your transcript until you confess to what you've done to the great democracies across the world. None of them are democracies. All of them are mafias and dictatorships by the people that were lucky enough to be born into those lethal bloodlines when they were still in fucking Europe. Right then, so Pillsbury Doughboys. I forget the man in the and these little clips are only a few seconds long, and they were played all over my life when I was a boy, and I loved the product that was the Pillsbury Doughboy that you heated up in your own oven. Okay, and there's a boogie one, a Pillsbury Doughboy breakfast boogie. Let's play that one. And you can see the pills, and so this is how the funding for democracy gets spent on covering up the world's most lethal people. Yeah, a member of Skull and Bones secret society. Please notice that the human Muppets were wearing Rothschild yellow. It's all yellow. Right through world history, okay? So, we've got onto full screen, and we were looking at the Skull and Bones just as we left the last video. Okay, I forget which one of them is the one that launched the let's see if we can scan down and see if a screen captured. So we've got all of those tabs. Those are the ones that we covered already. Nelson, Rockefeller, the presidents all of them, all of the presidents, the links to Marilyn Monroe, and all of them are Freemasons. Some of them are Rothschilds, and all of them are owned by the 13 mafia families that include the Kennedys, and the Rothschilds, and the Rockefellers. Yeah, massive, massive, lifelong frauds for every one of those family members. Yeah, and everywhere they go, the Skull and Bones people are there to plant unrest in those countries. Yeah, that's Poland, where the death camps were. Okay, that's Trinidad and Tobago, far from Homeland Security, Governor and Senator for Oklahoma. Yeah, and all of the musical jokes for Oklahoma are the ones laughed at by my wife. She pretended that she was like the woman that was Calamity Jane, another luscious blonde, all of their lives dedicated totally to the fact that women are the slaves of the Freemasons all across the world. Yeah, and that's my groin covered by the Freemasonic pinny, and that's what the New Zealanders get from the Empire, and those are the equivalent of their cathedrals with the crosses, a wooden shed out the back in the plantation that is the Windsor's empire. I forget which one is the joke. All of these names become jokes about the blowers and all of the people that are in the Freemasonic cricket community, Ian Botham, and all of the people that fish the Alnwick Junction pool. Yeah, with the registrations in the south of England, same places as my wife was registered when she still had the courage to try and kill me and put my life in danger, like those people that she admired so much in the car park scene. Right then, so let's see if I screen captured the person whose relatives are the do you get the Pillsbury is the Piesbury. There's Winston Lord, the diplomat and the president of the Council on Foreign Relations, on the warmongering Skull and Bones Society. There's Robert Hagan. This is where we left off, because Hagan in the Godfather movie is the so this one was born in 1958. He's younger than me. He's the one that looks after the bushes, and that is the Godfather joke, because Hagan is the foreman for the Godfather. He's the consigliere that gets all the instructions from 3 generations of Godfathers, and then they top him like the younger members of the family, because all of them are totally lethal, and electoral fraud is their only crime. I can't remember which one is the one that launched the Pillsbury people. It might be Dana Milbank. Do you get that joke? He's the cover. He was also, he's a lot younger than me. Yeah, more than 11 years younger than me. Okay, he is now the most recent plant in that lethal organisation. Yeah, and they become advisors to the Godfather, and I don't know which one it was that was the Pillsbury relatives. Yeah, President Taft. Yeah, the Sumners, William Howard Taft, 27 makes 9 US President. Yeah, they pick the head of state to be in the mafias that run all the wars and all the warmongering, and releases all of the money for that, funded more liberally than the American government now, because all of that goes to the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the families that are in the 13 families that we started making the movies about weeks and weeks and weeks ago. And I'm neglecting the Dutch mafias because I want to get this news out, because my life is now in danger. William C. Whitney, the Nuremberg inquest chairs, William Welsh, the bad guy, in the It's a Wonderful Life movie, George Herbert Walker, yeah, not George Herbert Walker Bush, yeah, Diplomat, 1931, he's in the blue fucking Danube, warmongering operation, right up to the start of World War II, in the carefully planned 39 steps. Do you get it? Okay, so it could, any of these relatives of these people could be the Pillsbury dough. If I looked that up, oh, that will put me off track. But the Skull and Bones is the warmongering institution. There are only about 90 people that have been elected at that level to be their leaders, and that is Yale University. Yeah, that is the spawning of all of the warmongering leaders, yeah, through all of America's history, and none of the wars are fought on their lands. Okay, they own part of the St. Lawrence River, and that is Deer Island, and all the jokes that are in the Braveheart movie about the stag's horns being stuck in your back and in your side are totally explained by the global Freemasons movement that use the swastika and the penny Field McConnell all over his broadcasting unit. Okay, and so I don't think that we're going to get the revelation. Let's look at the other tabs as we've gone down. So we've done the massive future, the massive commissions, we've done the Council for the Future of Europe and all of the Swiss connections. Not sure that we revealed him. Let's have a look at him. Okay, this is a Swiss connection, and that link was made on the 25th of February 2016. Okay, so there is the Swiss connection, and that is Jacob Kellenberger, who's a Swiss diplomat, and this is on the Council for the Future of Europe, which is now the debate that David Cameron is hotly engaged in. Yeah, this one runs the Berggruen Institute on Governance. Okay, and Solberg is all through the Usual Suspects joke. I have not sussed that yet. He's out of not Leiden in Belgium, but Hagan in Switzerland. Okay, in the Alps. Date of birth 1944. Public official on the Council for the Future of Europe, which Switzerland opted out of. Jacob Kerlberger was born in Hagen in 1944, attended the universities of Zurich, Granada, Spain, Tours, France, and all of it ends up in, and he did his thesis on Jacques Rousseau and his doctoral thesis on Pedro Calderón de Barca. Okay, total fraudsters in neutral Switzerland, where Rebekah Brooks has her businesses registered. Okay, with General Sir Mike Jackson, yeah, and all of the fraudulent activities of Prince Charles are registered in Zurich, and all of those massive, strictly neutral Swiss cities. Jack Benson, who's threatening to sue me, Jack is now my old colleague in the neuroscience sector, is the one that runs the war treasures. And when they used to empty the bins, not Bin Laden in Switzerland, the Frenchies used to come across the border to look for the lovely furniture that the Swiss were chucking away, because everything they own is an art treasure out of somebody else's country for strictly neutral reasons. Okay, and here's the relationships and the interlocks to Mario Monti, Stiglitz, and all of the bank crashing people, Jacques Delors, Niall Ferguson. We've done that one, okay? I cannot get you the Pillsbury Doughboys thing without losing my place. Okay, so we were on to the Skull and Bones and the launch of all of the wars by the university leaders from Yale. There's the Dana Milbank character that I vaguely referred to. He's younger than me, yet by a whole decade. He's now the equivalent of the Godfather's assistants to the president that is Obama, who's further down the list. There he is. It's quite exciting when you get to the president. That means that everybody that has an interview with Jim Fetzer or with Field McConnell, they have to stop talking an hour before they had planned to stop talking, because the president is making a broadcast to the nation. That's the president that all of them recognise as not even being an American citizen and being part of the world mafias, like this man from the Skull and Bones that kill all of the American troops and all of the American airmen, Field McConnell, in the great conflicts. Okay, we can have a look for a little bit more, and that's the cover for the lovely innocent woman, except for the fact that she has a Springer Spaniel, which is part of the biblical joke too. Yeah, and that is the King Charles. Yeah, the King Charles and the prostitutes in every denomination. Yeah, that is the launch of the little James and his children into the Christian fucking Bible. And the only fraud in America is the electoral fraud. And when Robert Redford ends his life in acting and then becomes a director, he turns his guns on South Africa and makes the beautiful movies about the juntas down there. And when he and his partner in crime, yeah, they ended their lives under bank robbery jokes, they went to Mexico, and that's the only country, apart from the Philippines, that still runs the peso currency. All of it is the same joke as the Pie Pillsbury Doughboy joke. on the lethal Skull and Bones. Every war, every side, for profit. And you should see how many assets those American universities have. All of them have a religious basis to their founding. Every one of them, like Oxford and Cambridge. The colleges are the light of the world, and Jesus College and Christ's College, and all of it, yeah, ends up in New Zealand, where they have the churches in the hut, yeah, and that is Christchurch, where the massive earthquake has been covered up by the media down there. Okay, he's part of the Milbank jokes. Okay, he's a journalist. Yeah, his life might be in danger when the truth is revealed about his equivalent in the Godfather movie, and all of it is a relentless joke against the American taxpayers, who fund the whole of the democracy fraud now and fund the whole of the sovereign debt crisis, because every one of the banks is owned with him as the consigliere for the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all of those 13 families that we've talked about. There are dozens and dozens within those 13 families. All of the truth is coming out about all of them really, really quickly. Which is why my life is in danger, and I wanted you to see that at the beginning. Here's the let's just scan down, in case the Pillsburys are his relatives. Swashmouth, 2 years in the gutter with Al Gore. Even the vice presidents have massive foundations. That is the Al Gore highways in New Zealand. Homo politicus, the strange and scary tribes that run our government, published in 2008, authored by the mafia leader that has replaced Dana, who was George W. Bush's private secretary in 2008. Here's Winston Lord. This is the Lord Winston joke. Okay. Sorry, every one of them is carefully positioned at the bottom, because this software was designed by Bill Gates. Okay. Winston Lord. If you read it that way, Lord Winston is the guy with a moustache that when I was applying to be a professor at Sunderland University for the second time in my life, and I did not get the job because one of the juniors that got it when I was a professor already in the first time of my life, and we improved our research score threefold and our funding went down sixfold. Yeah, Lord Winston came in and said to Sunderland University when they rejected me at interview that he would provide them with a cash burn from David Cameron's august government in London. Okay, so he's a diplomat, this one. Oswald Bates Lord. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so this is Lord Winston. This is the launch of the Mary Pillsbury Lord jokes. Yeah, the Pillsbury Doughboys. When I was a little laddie in the borders in the 1960s, can you see why democracy has no money? This one dedicates his life to leading the army, yeah, into Vietnam. Oh no, sorry, this is, what age group is Lord Winston? Military service, US Army from 1961. President, Council on Foreign Relations with Vietnam and Korea. Do you get the picture now? Yeah? And his wife is Betty Boa Lord. She could be a communist. Okay, so Board of Advisors, Tufts Presidential University, US Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs. Do you get the magnitude of it? And those little puppets dancing around there are the Pillsbury Doughboys Breakfast Boogie. His mum is Mary Pillsbury Lord. I'll get you a picture of Lord Winston for the beginning of next video. Yeah, and the launch of the Vietnam campaign is the launch of Field McConnell's Know Nothings and his partner Hawkeye, the Hawkins character, and the Hawkins woman is the woman that talks up the World Wildlife Fund on the BBC and on Fox News with Eamon, the Irish sectarian violence joke. Yeah, all of it is treason, and all of it for them in the lodge and in the back room and in the orgy and even in the Christmas Eve celebrations at the Piso Episcopalian Church with the word Piso and the initials KP emblazoned on the roof of the most beautiful church in the world. And the biggest criminals in the world. They've got the Scots, they've got the Schomburgs, they've got the Balfours. They come to Mass. The Duke of Roxburgh also attends. I've not seen him there yet, but they've carefully reported to me from the Otterburn hunt, and that is the joke about all of the people that we revealed on that massive tab that is under the CFR at the top. Yeah, all of them are fraudsters. All of the people in Britain are a cover for the massive crimes and the massive financial institutions in America, all over America. And that is the religious crimes led out of LADEN and led out of deploying the mouth in the Plymouth Pilgrim Fathers jokes. Do you get the magnitude of the spend issues? Here's Obama's. He's on the executive branch of the fraud. Okay, that's why every time he needs to make a speech to cover up my interviews with Jim Fetzer and my interviews with Field McConnell, yeah, those speeches have to be curtailed. Jim Fetzer has heart attacks in the middle of some of them when I mention the biblical frauds that interlock with the war dead jokes. Yeah, and the poppy sales for HRH Queen Elizabeth II, Bill Clinton's sister. Okay, 44th Freemasonic president. Okay. Yeah, It's absolutely massive. And since I put my pinny on, I cannot keep my ass covered because I'm using the belt there. Yeah, and all of it is a massive fraud against the world's people. Not an American citizen. All of them declare that. This is the bombing of Hawaii joke and the launch of the Pearl Harbor, launch of the World War II, cull the Japs for a laugh and make them our subordinates in the world issues. Yet they're still allowed into the G8 leadership teams, and Emperor Hirohito died in his bed in the 1980s. Yet after all of the rocket scientists of Germany had visited his country and made the Jaws film as a laugh about the risks to the people that delivered the bomb. That's the Enola Gay jokes and all of the jokes in the Jaws film about the scars from the sharks. Okay, and the sharks are the world leaders. And this one's out of Africa. Yeah, like the Robert Redford jokes. Barack Hussein Obama, date of birth 1961, industry, attorneys and law firms. Yeah, it's the law dad what runs it. Oh, the updates are ready for my computer as my life is confirmed to be in danger. By Rebekah in the Innsbruck joke. Okay, most powerful people in DC, Obama administrations, wait till you see the Ted Kennedy funeral joke. There it is, attendees of Ted Kennedy's funeral. Yeah, the mafias, that's the Kennedy family mafias, they run the bootlegging with the Bromsteins of Canada. Okay, Robert Rubin's network, 100 most trusted people in America. And I don't know what understand that. There's only 65 at the end in brackets. Obama White House bios, most influential people in healthcare. We'll get to that in time. That is the biggest healthcare companies in the world that make their money by treating and putting prosthetic limbs back on their dismembered veterans. Co-sponsors of energy diplomacy, that's the global warming scam and taxing you for your right to breathe. Every one of them is rendered safe by the massive number of troops that are underpaid and get the benefits of paying for their own health care when they come home legless. And for some reason, the whole country and all of those victims are still loyal to them. That reason is the Freemasonic penny. Totally enslaved, yeah, by the Freemasonic penny, run by the Duke of Kent in London, and that's why my new one true love, who is Commoner Kate, and she's very expensive to be loved. Yeah, you have to pay for access to her loins. Yeah, and the country will pay dearly for that unless they get on side really quickly. Yeah, she visited Edinburgh this week and played tennis up there with Andy Murray's mum. That's all the interlocking jokes with the Murrays of Fala and Spit the Dog. Look up Spit the Dog on YouTube and you'll see the jokes about all of the world leaders and the horrible truth that everything that they spout out is a lie. And the dog on his lap is God. Yeah, and the gods are on my side now, and everybody's fearful about that. Even the good guys in Jedburgh. Okay, the Ginsburgs, you remember them in the French mafias? Murdoch and Barack Obama left News Corp shortly after this failed. You get that? Gary Ginsburg tasked with arranging relationship and endorsement between Rupert Murdoch and Barack Obama. That's Rupert Murdoch who met David Cameron 20 times in private meetings on royal-like yachts, yeah, so that he could manipulate the whole of David Cameron's policy making. Yeah, that's the link to the empire state that is America, and the foundation, yeah, the plantation that is the American slaves to HRH, who's not actually the boss. That's the Rothschilds still, and the Rockefellers, and the mafias, and it's all subsidiarized, and it's ever so dangerous. Yeah, but when you compare my life now as a reporter, the only reporter in the Globe, Southern reporter in Scotland, all run out of Johnson Press and Ashley Highfield's empire of fraud, yet run by the Murdochs indirectly, yeah, by the fear-mongering and the threat of that assassination that was in Deep Throat's message to the freedom fighters on the electoral fraud at the Watergate building. White House releases details of recent visits by the health industry executives. Let's just scan through Obama's criminal transcript and see why every time I make an interview with American people, they need to curtail the amount of time that I'm given. That's why I don't work with them now, and that's why I work alone. Yeah, because that's the only safe way. That was taught me by the deep throat man in the car park. Okay, Hillary Clinton reportedly met Barack Obama at Goldman director and former Fannie Mae CEO Jim Johnson's home. Yeah, that's the Johnson lineage that signed Executive Order 1111 after they had killed their friend in the mafias, John F. Kennedy, who shagged all of the blonde women and was totally disloyal to his wife, who is a double agent, and then married the elite people that are Onassis, who's another one of the 13 dangerous mafia families, and then he gets involved with the Rhodes Trust people that are the templesmen of De Beers, and all of the diamond and gold ownership issues. And Barack Obama met Caroline Kennedy in Richard C. Perry's home. Yeah, that's Calpurnius Piso, that is Katy Perry, and all of them are in the same elite families that defrauded the Bible, launched the Pilgrim Fathers, and the Pi Pillsbury Doughboys. Citizens for Ethics. Yeah, that's the White House initiative. Okay, so I'm wasting a lot of time on the president. He was educated in Jakarta, Indonesia, and Hawaii, that was bombed, the Pearl Harbor joke, yeah, for the Christian that is Delaney's donkey, FDR, Delano Roosevelt, yeah, the New Deal, Delano, New Deal, all of it is a joke. Right then, so let's quickly scan in case there's something even more scandalous. Yet this is the one that runs all of the executive subcommittees, makes the decisions on his own. His wife, lovely black woman, reminds me of those two massively well-built tennis players in America. Yeah, she has stolen £2 million from the democracy that is America for their holiday fund. David Jones, if you're still breathing in Dunedin, you should have a massive conscience about what you've done to my career, but I do not regret anything that I've done in my life. I let the truth out all of the time. Yeah, he's a member of the African Affairs Subcommittee. Thank you to all of the nurses looking penitent that have met me this week. Yeah, since I revealed again the massive healthcare frauds in all of the poor countries that have been partitioned, where all of the presidents get executed because they fall out with the other mafia members in the countries that could own themselves, were there not to be mafia leadership teams like this. Yeah, all of the people that I talk to in America are subject to having their families torn apart. All of the Freemasonic things that I've told you about my family being torn apart, and my wife's affiliation to Judaism without even declaring it, until it's too late and she wants me snipped when I become an activist and I reveal all of these massive crimes against the world's innocent people. Okay, so that's Pakistan, where they deploy the drones, and Hillary looks ever so jocular as they take down the bin lorry driver. Yet in all of Rupert Murdoch's free press, that is the fascist covers for the totally inept leadership of our globe. Okay, I'm wasting a lot of time. So Obama's a lawman, yeah, out of lawless Chicago, where they make the film, yeah, about beating the people on the head, yeah, and that is, I forget what the name of the mafia man was in Chicago, yeah, used the baseball bat to cave in the skulls of his colleagues on the boardroom. Yeah, it's massive. Clinton Global Initiative member, organiser, Developing Communities Project, yeah, Chicago Annenberg Challenge, Columbia University, Harvard Law School, where they did the Boston bombings, and all the legless people were wheeled up. There it is. There's the images of the Boston bombing fraud just days before Mrs. Thatcher's fascist funeral. There's the man that looks like my neighbours, that are the Hutchisons, in the bloodline for the presidents, and he's only got one leg on in that image. Yeah, and by the end of the street, the medics from Harvard, that's the Boston Tea Party joke, the Christian Cross joke, yeah, they have taken both his legs off. He's lost a lot of blood allegedly, and his bone is sticking out, but he's still fully conscious and chatting to them openly. Yeah, it's all massive. Yeah, and it is just a Muppet show. And the Pillsbury doughboys are the most inspiring persons in the story so far. Okay, Michelle Obama, First Lady, she's got the holiday fund. Yeah, here's the Dunhams, that's his relatives in the real bloodline, that links him to Hillary, the Canadian fraudsters, the Canadian presidents, to Celine Dion, and all of those immortal people whose husbands died just recently, and his real name is Satoru. Field McConnell told me that. Field McConnell has never talked to me. He may have been taken out by his evil sister. Okay, Barack Obama Sr. To up to 1961, Jacob William Dunham, great-great-grandfather, the Dunhams. Okay, there's the Jamie Dimon. Bob Diamond was the head of Barclays, got a 2 million pension fund when he was found to be the culprit at the London whale scandal involving Boris, the mayor of London. And Red Ken already, the revolutionary Scotsman, is now a capitalist icon. All of these are the people that crashed the banks in 2008. Jamie Dimon is the chairman and CEO of JP Morgan Chase. Did you know that Bob Diamond took all of the fall in London for all of those crimes of one of his juniors? Okay, Joe Biden, US Senator and Vice President, running mate. Okay, these are all the Freemasons that steal from their country in a systematic way, and most of them are out of the German system that won World War II for the Freemasons. All of the innocents that died in that were poor. Rabsy Nisbet, Chicago real estate executive. Michael Froman, okay, that's Chicago, the windy city, that's the elements. Robert Wolfe, Kenneth Mack, that's the Harvard Law School professor that becomes the Mack in the comedies in Britain. The Reynolds mafias, the Cook mafias that are my relatives, that are Ambassador Francis D. Cook and all of the people that run the taxi firms that get the Borders Council contracts that look spookily like tiny Rolands. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, these are their funders. Okay? Okay, this is the American president. Hillary chips in, yeah, for a laugh. Carol Mosley, that's the fascist family, and that you've heard of the bronze in the little blue dresses before with the spunk on them, Bill Clinton. Yeah, that's Hitler, Hitler Rothschild and Eva Braun from the Alps. All of it is a massive joke. Rebecca Innsbruck. Philip Carter, another presidential bloodline. Broderick Johnson, lobbyist. The Campbells are coming. Okay, Messina, that's one of the battle zones in the Middle East. Okay, Obama for Illinois, Obama Victory Fund, yeah, massive slush funds. Now we go to the pacifist actions in Defence Department. Right then, I want to get this over with so I can get back. So this is the Department of Defence. America's never hosted a conflict thanks to the interventions that were made after the bombing at Hawaii. Yeah? So, we've got Newmans. Have you heard of the Paul Newmans in the Robert Redford connection before? Yeah? They spend the rest of their life, once they've made the jokes about the peso currency and robbing the banks in Mexico where they still use the peso, yeah, he sells mayonnaise. Okay? And all of it is massive, and all of it they think is really funny, and that's the death of all of your relatives and the launch of the Queen's Ceramic Puppy Fund. Yeah, this is the surveillance, microelectronics, American forces, defence security cooperation, TRICARE, management activity, Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences. Do you see it? They get the legs blown off. They make the propaganda with actors fully conscious, and the main source of income for those massive, biggest healthcare companies is helping the people that they culled, yeah, and their relatives that were severely injured and are now incapable of even attending, yeah, the baseball game where the bat used to be used as the main. What was the name of the man in Chicago? Al Capone. And he is the capons of world ownership fame that take you right back to the Roman emperors and every road leading from Rome. That is the Uncle Remus joke. Yeah, and I'm the only real informant of how the world is run and how sickly it fucking is. Okay, healthcare delivery, it's massive. Centre for Unmanned Aircraft, that's taking, yeah, the bin lorry driver down in Pakistan, and all of the massive news releases about his body being lost off the back of the boat that Rupert Murdoch used to use to meet Cameron before he became the Prime Minister, and was already working with the fraudsters Jeremy Clarkson in Chipping Norton and the Barker family that are the Bible fraud authors and become all of the jokes about law enforcement in Scotland. Yeah, that's Ronnie Barker and all of the comedies about him being a prisoner. Yeah, and that's the Mackay of Clash Ferm law enforcement jokes. Okay, Rhett Butler, all of the fraudsters are all in the elite families that run it. Yeah, that one you may not get. That is the people in Preston. Can you see that it has the word PESO in it? Stephen Andrew Hancock's OBE has all sorts of dental friends in the Preston community, and their name, for a laugh, is Cahill. The Calvary Hill execution scene for Jesus, with the Freemasons chanting in the background, John Wayne, that this is truly the world's greatest man. Yeah, that's replaced God in the humans, in the heavens, and that is the Episcopalian Church joke. Yeah, swaddling clothes, yeah, is the Otto Onion's bandages. Yeah, and that's the onion salesmen that are the Piso family frauds right after World War II, when we were watching the Pillsbury Doughboy ads on the telly. Right, so that's Defence Department, most powerful department under Obama. We've not gotten to the bottom there. You're going to have to ask me for some PDFs, and I will not be able to sell you to them, because all of these things have copyright arrangements that mean that I cannot meet John Lamont MSP for fear of copyright infringement. He's in the Dutch mafias, he's in all of the Scottish mafias, and all of his life is a sin, and you should see his director numbers if he really is Julian Callum Lamont, and he's tied into my sister's former companies. My sister is, with the Pillsbury Doughboy, the most innocent person in in this story, and her name is Shakina or something like that. I will not tell you. And her husband, yeah, whose name is the same as the first female boss at Oxford University in 800 years. That's Richardson. I will tell you his name. Yeah, all of it. All of my story is every story in the world, and all of it is to cover up my truths and his sins. Right then. So, this is the powerful, most powerful departments. Person elected, Barack Hussein, yeah, strung up by their friends. Okay, it looks a bit repetitive, this one. So let's go to Ted Kennedy's funeral. So you remember the Ginsberg singer in the French opera sector? Piss takes all the way to the bank. Ted Kennedy's funeral. This is very insightful. This is the surviving mafia members that take over once the Kennedy brothers have all been shot down, because of their capacity to be converts to the ownership of America's central banks, all 26 of them coming back into the government's hands. Okay? And the TED lectures are now a global icon, and Monica Lewinsky lectures there. I don't think she keeps the smunk on her little blue dress to show the might of her campaign and what women have done in life so far. Yeah, my call to all of the innocent women of the borders, all of the innocent women of the world. No one's come forward yet. Thank you to Miss Manningham Buller's body double for her civilised conversation and the fact that I'm still breathing in this really dangerous position. Okay, Al Gore. This is the name of the people that attend Arnie Schwarzenegger from the Alps, from the Innsbruck region, from the same region as Pope Benedict. For a laugh, had to resign when all of that is revealed by yours truly, and his butler gets the blame for it. Barbara Boxer, Barney Frank, Bill Clinton, Bill Nelson, Bob Woodward, Washington Post, electoral fraudster. Cameron Kennedy, Charles R. Stitt, that's the people in the car park talking to Councillor Mitchell. Okay, they've just stuck the little knife in my throat thing there. Okay, it's getting less potent every time they do it. Senator John F. Kerry, the Irish connections, the Boston connections, the Cameron connections. Yeah, and the Innsbruck connection is the one that will bring them all down Bob at the Episcopalian church with the Piso word in it and all of the Balfours in attendance. Charles spit at Rob, yeah. Watch the spit. And my best mate in life, yeah, in the intensive care sector, was from the hospital at Stockton, yeah, in the Durham constituency, yeah, was Chris Dodds. He visited New Zealand. I got defamed for funding his visit in part, and he got defamed for funding some of my visits to talk to him about scientific research and collaboration to save lives. I now realise that all of the people that have been planted in my life are covers for all of this. And Mrs. Valerie Jane Hancock's, I don't know how she lives with herself. Yeah, all of what she's done to me is to silence me as a political activist and one of the world's only innocents. Okay, those names don't mean much. St. Patrick is part of the biblical fraud, and he operated in the Gillespie mafias. Okay, Dianne Feinstein, Dick Durbin, yeah, Dick Turpin was one of the people that got executed in Hemel Hempstead, where Miss Valerie Jane Lees celebrates the killing of one of the last great highwaymen, yeah, in the Hemel Hempstead region, right next door to where Elton John's football club is and the Rothschilds of Watford run the frauds. Yeah, and that for a time is near Petit, France, where the head of the Bank of England's residence is. Do you get all of the jokes? The Fausts, all of the New World Order authors are part of the mafias already. Gareth Locke, this is the disappearance of, this is the people at the funeral of the Kennedy family. Joseph Locke is the cover for him. Yeah, Joseph Locke was a tax fraudster like Ken Dodd. And do you get all of that? That is the Princess Di Diddy Men joke for Judaism. I've got all of it sussed now. I understand the whole thing. George W. Yeah, his Bush, his private secretary is the Kagan man, and Hagan is the Godfather private secretary. Isn't it funny? Okay. The Ikes, yet the Icknield way, all roads lead back to Rome. Hillary Clinton was at the funeral. Yeah. Yet she is the most exposed of the lot. Yet ancient history right into Normandy and William the Conqueror. Jane Maria Swift, Gulliver's Travels, Governor of Massachusetts. Okay, Jimmy Carter, Joan Kennedy, Joe Biden, US Senator and Vice President. I'm going to move further down and show you what's on the tabs. Look it up for yourself. It's really enlightening who the mafias are. John McCain, US Senator and Representative from Arizona. Okay, here's Tony Blair and his role as the envoy in the Middle East to the dismembered, his envoy in Europe. Okay, there he is, lovely looking guy, just like the villain in the El Cid movie. Yeah, El Cid asks him to swear on the Bible that he did not kill his brother, and he is married into the mafias in Liverpool. Yeah, birthplace Edinburgh, Scotland, real name on the business register which John Patterson found with me, Anthony Charles Linton Blair. I found the registrations. John Patterson knew the stuff about the toilet accusations. Okay, Anthony Charles Linton Blair, a former British Labour Party politician, yeah, from Sedgefield. That's a joke that will take a long time to explain, but it is also the Reedsdale joke and Moses in the fucking bulrushes. Yeah, and that takes you into Iraq and all of the things about the otters and the otiers that are in all of those movies about romantic Scotland. Yeah, the Campbells are coming. At 43 years old, he became the youngest Prime Minister since Lord Liverpool, who's the one that is Lord Macartney of Liverpool, yeah, and did all of the dirty deals with Muhammad Ali in India, with all the venture capital coming from the Rothschilds, or whatever they were called at that time. Yeah, he's been the representative to the Middle East. He represents the USA, UN, Russia, the communist nation, and the EU, working with Palestinians to prepare for statehood as part of the international community's efforts to secure peace. That's the Iraq war, that is the brutalisation of Afghanistan for its narcotics and its central bank. The biggest killer in modern times with George W. Bush since World War II, and on the European side of that, they get the Peace Prize for it. So here we go, here's his interests. Yeah, when the Leveson inquiry was interrupted by the protester, they claimed that he was getting £2 million a year from JP Morgan. Yeah, he stammered and said it's not nearly as much as that. Yeah, this is for the unelected man who now is the head of the Council for European Affairs. Okay, JP Morgan Chase International Council, Council for the Future of Europe. Yeah, that's further down. Yeah, we could click on that and we could see who are in that institutes. Yeah, council members, Clinton Global Initiative member. Yeah, that's the Prime Minister, the banking magnate, the interface totally owned by the financial elites, that is the unelected representative for Middle Eastern peace, having taken us there with George W. Bush. And George Herbert Poppy Bush, his dad, was the Arms to Iraq founder, and all of that was the Food for Aid scam, and all of it is totally shameful. And all of them are totally unelected in these much more influential posts once they've retired as the Prime Minister in the UK. David Cameron, 20 meetings with Rupert Murdoch before your policies were dictated by the American people that you claim are enslaved by you, by the monarchy. That's the Empire State fraud. America's taxes come to Britain right into the 2040s. That was my mate Greg Hallett that revealed that. He was killed by the Queen, who gets the benefit of those taxes, and is the mother-in-law to the charming woman that sells her body to the prince and plays tennis in Edinburgh with Andy Murray's mum and the Princess Trust members that are the relatives of William Hague, and I've got all of his receipts for all of my exposures, none of which were as big as these. Okay, educated at the Chorister School, Tony Blair, yeah, up to the age of 13, which is the mafia family numbers, married to a lawyer in Liverpool, and that's the Alf Garnett Coon jokes in West Ham, and that is where Trevor Brookings played. Yeah, are you beginning to see how they spin around to steal from you all? Okay, George W. Bush, quite a sinister transcript. Partners in crime all the way to the bank, and all of them are now looking quite decrepit physically. Thank you for that, God. Scared the shit out of them. I don't know how many gods there are, but they're great people. Yeah, and they've been replaced by Jesus and the dogs. And George and Renee Magritte with their war treasures, sharing their bits in the bedroom. Yet that's all that counts for the whole lot of them. Mrs. Valerie Jane Lees and your life in morality. 43rd US President, ex-Governor of Texas, son of George Herbert W. Poppy. Dare not mention that, since I was on Jim Fetzer's programme for a much shorter time than he promised me. And he wanted to talk about religion before he heard about religion and the war dead jokes and the Poppy jokes for the Queen. Okay, I think you know how evil he is. Let me take you to the new stuff. This is the Homeland Security tab under his regime. That is the bombing of the Twin Towers and the demonisation of the bin lorry driver in Glasgow. Yeah, all of it is totally pathetic, and nobody has any money for their democracy. Tony Blair, you revolutionary socialist person, you, and you genocidal bastard. New members appointed to Homeland Security, Fed spending, yeah, leadership, border commerce, eyes of the world, wide shut. Kate, Unicist helps customs and border control. They shoot the Spaniards now that are coming over from Mexico, yeah, at border control. Okay, Department of Homeland Security, executive branch. That means that he gets to make decisions without referring any of it to the corrupted place. The only thing that counts if you want to be a senator is what your income and your net worth is. You have to be worth over 2 million to be a US politician, I believe. Border control, I'm hoping to get, because of my kindness to Hillary thus far, I'm hoping she can get me a passport, and I might be able to come across and save all the sad bastards. Okay, Dana Perino, I want to meet you. Yeah, it's just amazing how the innocents get abused, and all of the, I don't know what's happened to Bob Beckles. I was hoping to find him on this new website. He may have passed on, or ever so spooked about it. That's the Fox News false news team with Brett Baer in the Rothschilds branch. Okay, so, and this is Homeland Security. Massive tiers and tiers of people looking for the criminals who are actually their bosses in the White House and in all of those massive frauds. That's further down. The names of the people. Dick Cheney is one. I forget what the White House man was in the Blackwater scams. He's further down the tabs. Shall I take you down the tabs so you can ask me for a PDF if you're an innocent person? I don't think I'll be troubled with that issue for a long period of time. Yeah, USSS. It's massive. Every country is governed by the Queen's, I forget what it is, the Royal International Affairs, the RIAA, Royal Institution for International Affairs. Yeah, it's massive. All of the people on the CIA get to be on the court of the Bank of England, so the fraud can be optimised, so that the elite families get funded, none of the countries get funded. That's the taxpayers' commitment now. And the next tax is on breathing. That's your sins in global warming, Bill Clinton. Yeah, yeah, with the near-death activity. I don't know how so many of them last for so long. Customs and Border Control, Domestic Terrorism Council, they've now launched Islam into the university students. Thank you to the Able Danger people for ringing me in the middle of the night, Tiara, yeah, and revealing all of that threat, yeah, of religious violence in the land of the free, once all of your Indian tribes have been culled by the Christians, whose obligation is to love their neighbours. Okay. Loads of relatively Secretary of Homeland Security, Michael the Jewish angel, Chertoff, heard of him before, not sure why. The Mortons, yeah, Uncle Desmond Morton, the double agent in World War II, Operation Winnie the Pooh, in league with the Flemings. Got Mortons in my class at my school. And their surviving relatives don't appear to remember that. The Fraziers, yet the Boston jokes about George W. Bush's bloodline being the Pierces, and Nile being the name of the Nile, which means Piso. Booz Allen Hamilton, the Hesses of Hamilton. Yet this is the members of Homeland Security. Accenture PLC, Crossmatch, Iris RDID, Unisys, Rockwell Collins Mafias, Terry Venables, another soccer player, LLP, Copernicus Piso LLC, Capital Solutions, Duckco, Fed Express, all of the frauds that George W. Bush and Michael Moore run in their massive Dubai registered companies. Yeah, all of the P&O shipping lines that took us to New Zealand, and asset stripped all of my savings as I came back. Only my laboratory equipment was paid for by Otago University, and I was smart enough to make that deal with them before I went out there. Okay, so lobbying firms. Let's get to the healthcare bit. It's really interesting. Here is, I'm going to skip George H.W. Bush. I think you get that now. That's Poppaea, is the Poppy Bush joke. Yeah, she was married to Caligula in the Roman court, and that is the launch of the Mariam, M and M's joke, and they are the illegitimate parents of, that's the Emperor Caligula, sired Arius Calpurnius Piso, the biggest fraudster in the world. Okay, so let's move on to the Hagan Godfather joke. Okay, so Hagan in the Godfather movies is the man that looks after, so you've seen Kagan is George W. Bush's boss. This is Deputy Chief of Staff to George W. Bush and long-time friend, edited by Seeker over 4 years ago. There's another Hagan, yeah, not H-A-G-A-N as in the Godfather movie with Al Pacino. Al Pacino is not a criminal. He cannot be found on these registrations. It's very reassuring for me, because the janitor at Kelso High School is a body double for him now, and he now works for the Borders Council Democracy Fraudsters. And I've told him that I have no intention of voting for any of them, because they tried to section me as a political activist, and they still try and take my rates from me. I get nothing from them. They empty the Bin Laden joke. That's all. All of the water has been privatised that God gave us. Yeah, here he is. He's a Cincinnati Enquirer. He's a Bloomberg Business Week correspondent, and he's a Reuters member. That's the Rothschilds news agency. Do you get it? So he's Hagan, the boss for the Godfather that is the Bush family dynasty, 2 generations. And they laugh at the war dead for all of the 2,000 years. And there's the KP Kenyan Products joke. Calpurnius Piso, the biggest fraudster, the illegitimate son of Emperor Caligula, and Mariam. Yeah, goodness knows, yeah, what's on their conscience when they die. And in Revelations in the Bible, Arius Calpurnius Piso is written into it by his son as the devil, and that may well be the case. Because they have displaced the gods in the heavens almost entirely, but not totally, and that is going to be the turning point for the whole of the evil game. Here's Panetta, the mafia man that we talked about before. Okay, so this is a full page on Panetta. He's the Foreign Secretary. He's got a lot to answer for. Okay, it's got a lot to answer for. He's kind of like